some of you. For the rest of you, this is usually when a speaker tells a couple of jokes and stories about himself, so you'll like them. I'm going to try to fit a 2-day course into at least the essence of it into 1 hour. So we could take each other 15 minutes if you would just like me right away without the story. Okay then. I have 2 suggestions. Number 1, take out your phone and be prepared to take pictures of the slides. There's going to be stuff on the slides, and you're going to want it. And I'm going to move through it quickly, so if you just want to snap a picture of it, I'm okay with that. And number 2, I'm an ex-school teacher. In the 1970s, yes, in the 1970s, is there anybody in the room who wasn't even born yet in the 1970s? Yeah, first of all, you get out. I got nothing for you. And that aside, here's the point. So in a way to keep up with whatever's going on in the world, they've got all your stuff on a computer, right? The outline I sent on a computer. UCLA and Princeton. Did you hear that? Hey, I grew up in the 60s. Sometimes I hear stuff. Really? Sorry. So they've done studies at Princeton and UCLA to determine that you'll learn more if you write notes than if you type them. If you're not aware of that, if you got kids in school, tell them to quit typing it on a computer. In the next session, we're going to talk about the difference between hearing and listening. People can type. Again, UCLA and Princeton, I'm not going to do a whole lot about on this, but seriously, people can type, and what they discovered is kids were typing every word that the professor was saying. And what they weren't doing, because when you take notes, you can't write as fast as the person who's speaking. So you need to take what it is they're saying and make a conscious effort to translate the words into a meaning that means something to you, so you learn more. So if you've got paper and pencil, and you believe anything I just said, you don't know me, I could just be making that up. You should be. Okay, well, with that in mind, here we go. Anybody know the name W. Edwards Deming?
Yes.
So there's a couple of you. Yeah, there you go. Business guy. Actually, he traveled the United States in the 1950s. Seriously, if you weren't, I'll catch up. So far I've talked about the 70s and the 50s. Trust me, I'll catch up. This is the guy who came up with quality control. In essence, he went around in the 1950s, followed all the manufacturers in the United States and said, listen, we're number 1 in the world for selling stuff. I mean, we sell stuff. But we're not going to stay number 1 unless we make some changes. The problem is we sell stuff that has got built-in obsolescence. And he went to all the major industrial manufacturers in the United States and he said, you want to know the secret? And they said, yes, tell us the secret. And he said, 0 defect production. Make stuff that doesn't fall apart, especially on purpose. And they all said, well, you're crazy. That, first of all, you can't do that. Number 2, why would we do that? People are buying our stuff anyway. And he said, okay. And he went somewhere else. Thank you. Yeah, he went to Japan. He went to the Japanese. He said, look, you have a terrible reputation for anything that you make. Do you want to catch up with America and, to surpass them in cars and electronics? And they said, yeah. And he said, well, here's the secret, 0 defect production. And they went, cool. And here we are. So this is one of the masters. This is one of the gurus. And he also said, as it relates to what we're going to talk about today, is this. If you can't describe what you're doing as a process, you don't know what you're doing. He's a systems guy, so am I. What he's talking about is this, systematic, continuous, repetitious. I can make anything work. I can make fish for sale by owners work, although who would want to? I could go after expired listings, but the truth of the matter is, if you have some sort of focus and you know what your end result's going to be, you back off from that, you create a system, and you do it continuously. And you get to where you want to go. In this particular class, what we want to do is set a goal. I want you to write down on a piece of paper, assuming that you have paper and pencil. I want you to write down on a piece of paper how many transactions you'd like to do. How many are you doing now? How many would you like to do? What do you I can do 100, 200. And if I could teach you to do that number and never have to work weekends, would that be okay? Well, see, right away you got to stop laughing about that because it's doable. I mean, I've been coaching people for like 15 years. I've got people selling 100, 200 houses a year, and they don't work weekends. And by the way, this one got me. In 1983, I learned this from some other guy. I didn't make this stuff up. I just, I changed the way I was doing business. I was licensed in 1978. Anybody licensed since 1978 have the energy to put your hand up in the air? Well, yes. So I'm good. So I modified that. If you have the opportunity and you've not taken a CRS 210, CRS 210 is a referral course. Anybody taking CRS 210? Good course, is it not? I wrote it. But we're going to try to fit that into like an hour. So here we go. Systematic. Process is a series of well thought out choreographed steps to get to a specific outcome. In essence, it's a dance. I want to get there, I'm here, and there's specific steps I want to get to. So here we go, phase number one. If you've ever found yourself like this, which I found myself in 1983, and I've had a lot. I was selling a lot of houses, but I was miserable. Is there anybody in the room who sells a lot of houses which are just miserable? And seriously, you know what? I can't tell you the numbers of people I've come in the last 15 years who were selling 50, 80, 100 houses a year and ready to quit because they were focused on getting buyers and sellers in a particular way, and they found themselves. Here's what I discovered. See if you discovered this yet too. I used to, and I worked in DC, so really, lots of houses that could be sold. Right here, you got to take this with a grain of salt. I had 35 listings at any given time. After a few years in business. And you would think that was good, right? Would that be good?
Yes.
Except for here's what I discovered. After 5 years of doing that all those people liked me or at least respected me enough that they gave me their listing and they thought I worked really hard and I deserved a vacation, just not while I had their house listed. Seriously, that's a major flaw in the way we do business. To some degree, we're taught to do all this and get all this business, except for they do not have a life unless you structure that. So let's clarify a couple things. Number one, in terms of clarification, and this is for you if when you go home and start in terms of homework. Step number one is what do you do? What do you do that you get paid for? What's your service? What's your product? What do you get paid to do? Okay, all that. So here, we help people make decisions that are in their best interest, and without us there as a catalyst, they probably could not and would not make. Here we go. Let me slow down. The only thing we get paid to do is help people make decisions for themselves that are in their best interest, and without us there as a catalyst, they probably could not or would not make. All the rest of the stuff is supportive of that. But if you never help a buyer or a seller sell, you don't make any money. Is that right? Are we together on that? Okay. All we do is ultimately we put ourselves in front of a number of people who we can help make a decision about the buying and selling of real property. We help them make decisions for themselves that are in their best interest. That without us there as a catalyst, they probably could not and or would not make. And it's about buying real property, which will ultimately enhance their economic well-being and quality of life. We're not selling computers and we're not selling cars. This is where their families are going to grow. This is where their kids are going to go to school. This is a big deal. Can we agree with that? Yes or no?
Yes.
Well, see, if that's the end result, if what we want to do is get in front of people so we can help them make that decision, and again, I don't have a problem with conversation, so if you disagree with that, you can jump in. Step number two, then who's the target customer? I do this with a whole bunch of corporate entities, as well as real estate companies and real estate agents. This is the way companies think. Okay, this is the product we have to sell. So who's the best customer for that?
Somebody who has something to sell.
Well, first of all, they got to be in a position that they're going to want to sell something or buy something.
Right.
And we want this to be. I want this to be as easy as possible. So in 1983, this guy Danny Cox, who taught me this stuff, he said, "Listen, here's the problem. Most of you are marketing so you get a large quantity of buyers and sellers. You're throwing stuff out there so you get a large bunch of people coming to the door. To some degree, that's the objective of marketing, is it not? Let's drive as many people to the door as we possibly can. Is that not the objective, basically, yes or no? And you know what, he changed everything for me. I'm going to try to change it for you too. He said, you don't want a large quantity of buyers and sellers, you want a large quantity of quality buyers and sellers. See right away? That one word changes everything. That one word, who's the target customer? So I'm sitting in a room with 900 people at the Maryland convention, and he says, first thing you need to do is write down what's your definition of a target customer. Based on what we do for a living, put ourselves face to face with somebody and try to convince them, persuade them, influence them, negotiate with them first before we negotiate for them. Who would be the best customer for that? I'm out of breath, I'm going fast. And we only have an hour. So here's my definition, you may want to write it down. My definition of a quality client is warm, fuzzy, wealthy, and submissive. Fuzzy is not really important, but seriously, I don't want this to be so hard. Well, can I not put myself in front of people who want to be persuaded, as opposed to people who resist me? Does that not make sense? Mm-hmm. So here's what we did. So we did this, I'm doing it with you now. So he said, so you have to find your audience. Who are you going to market to? There's only three different classifications of customers or clients you can market to. They would be strangers, which is what I was taught to do, for sale by owners, expireds, postcards, cold calls when they were legal, blah, 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 blah. And by the way, it works. I'm not suggesting it doesn't work. I'm suggesting you ain't, well, strangers. Referrals are repeat. That's all you got. If we're going to pick a category now that best suits the clarification, step number one, which of these three best fits the description of warm, fuzzy, wealthy, and submissive? Who's going to be least likely to question my fee? Who's going to be least likely to question my opinion of fair market value? It's going to be okay with them if I have a life. They don't need to tweet me all the time. They don't need to call me all the time. Which of the three would that be? Repeat. That would be repeat. There you go. So right away. Do you have a process? Do you have a strategy? Do you have a system to make sure, in fact, that your people keep on coming back? Well, we're going to talk about that. I'm going to give you this number again later, but while it's in my head, 88% of all buyers say they'll use their agent again, only 11% ever do. You go to any other corporate entity and you tell them that we have people who we do a really good job for and they love us, but 7 years later they go somewhere else. And by the way, even sellers, 85% of them say they'll use us again, only 25% ever do. So again, I don't know you guys are not doing this one-on-one. Here's something you ought to check. You ought to go back in time and see how many people you work with who are not coming back. And if we could create a system, a process to make sure they do. I'll try to help you with that. That leaves strangers and referrals. See, the problem with repeat is they repeat in the country once every 7 years, give or take. Between repeat and referrals, which of those two is closer to warm, fuzzy, wealthy, and submissive? That would be referrals. Why is that? Somebody who they do trust said, go use you, go talk to you. They come predisposed to trust us. Correct? Yeah, can you mess it up? Sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, which is why we're doing the whole next hour. At least they walk in the door. So of the three, the one that costs the most money, it costs 15 to 20% more money from a business point of view, more money to generate strangers as customers than it does the other two. So right away, that's just, well, what the heck are we doing? And by the way, if we get strangers, they're the ones who are most likely to want us to cut our fees. They're the ones who are most likely who don't trust us to make a full price offer. They're the ones who want to text and tweet us all the time because they don't know if we're keeping our promises or not, so they're checking up on us. So you get this? Yeah. The problem is that viable? If we really were going to focus on repeat and referral business, a business would say, is it viable? Can you even do that in today's world? How do most buyers and sellers find their way to a real estate agent in year 2019? How do most buyers and sellers find an agent? How do they do that? Well, first of all, you should not trust me. Well, at least for the next 45 minutes. But you know what? Seriously, we speakers, we show up. We can do anything we want with numbers. You gotta know, if you've ever taken a course in statistics, which I both hated and loved, we can do anything we want with numbers. And by the way, we wear these special ties. Seriously, this is a speaker's tie. And then we dance around a lot, so it goes back and forth, catches the light just right, and after 15 minutes, it's just twirling, and you're looking, what did he say? You need you're a business for yourself. Certainly, you see these numbers, you should be asking, where did it come from, and where do I find it? So, NAR, buyer seller profile. We're running into the weeds for just a second, so if you don't like numbers, I'll be back in about 5 minutes. Here, you're going to make business decisions long term. The decisions you make should be based on demonstrable, objective criteria. What's the hard fact and data? Don't tell me what worked for you once. You know what? For sale by owners worked for me once. But that's anecdotal. Just because it worked for me in Washington, D.C. in the 1970s doesn't mean the same process is going to work for you. So be careful of those of us with these ties, and be careful when we say, I did it. So what's most likely to work for you? Well, here we go. NAR. There's some hard fact and data. Let me ask you again. How do most buyers and sellers find a way to a real estate agent? Yeah, see, no. If you've never taken a course in statistics, this is going to make you a little crazy. You didn't ask the right question. I didn't ask the right question. I said, how did they find a real estate agent? Not how did they find a house? Seriously, and if I was selling you a website, I could use these numbers and charge you $2,000 to do a website for you because you should be online. Except for that. I'm going to summarize this because this makes both sides twirl around. This is how buyers in the last 8 or 9 years have found their way to a real estate agent. Seriously, can you see that? I mean, rather than I interpret it, an asterisk, by the way, means less than 1%. Can you see that? First of all, D and I, behind referral. Referral D is direct, referral I is indirect, which means it came from a third-party company or something. Seriously. By the way, all this stuff works. It all works. But some of it works better and is more focused upon the customer and client we are looking for. Here, there's the simple numbers. 61% of all buyers, even first-time buyers, and I don't know how they repeat, but even first-time home buyers, 61% was repeated in referral. Only 10% came from any kind of internet stuff. Crowdsourcing, your own app, your own whatever. I'm not suggesting you shouldn't have it. I'm suggesting it's a supportive asset. If you're going to spend all your time and energy focused upon getting your buyers and sellers strictly from a website, you need to be selling second homes in Montana to people who are buying from New Jersey. Whoa. Yeah. Okay. Forgive me. I didn't mean it. Yeah, I'm going to keep on going. You don't need to see me. It would be good if you could see because, you know, but here we go. So, okay. And sellers, that. And again, if you want to take a picture of that, that's fine, but let me summarize it for you because we're just trying to answer the question, is this kind of business even viable? Thank you very much. So, here, bottom line, 71% find their agent through repeat or referral. 71%, only 4% use the internet in any way. Is this making sense? Okay. How many of you, put your hand up if you think most of your business already is repeat and referral, put your hands up in the air. Yeah, see, I've got an exercise for you to do. One more time, perhaps wrong question. So, Alameda, California, I coached a guy named Walt. He didn't need to know his last name. I coached this guy named Walt. And I said, Walt, you need to be more proactive, purposeful, and forward-thinking about the repeat and referral business. He said, Ed, 94% of my $12 million business is repeat and referral. You got that number? 94% of his business. $12 million business, because you're in Alameda, California. I said, I understand that, Walt, but you need to be more proactive, purposeful, and forward-thinking about the repeat and referral business. And he said, Ed, it's been that way for the last 8 years of my 18 years in the business. I said, I understand that, Walt, but you need to be, and you know, he just stopped me. Well, and you may be too, but this is gonna be homework assignment. I said, Walt, what I want you to do is I want you to, I was in his office, I said, open up your computer, let's see how many people you got in your database. You need to go home and figure out how many people you got in your database. People you've worked with in the last 8 years, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. How many people are there? Then I said, Walt, what I want you to do is I want you to put a check mark next to anybody who's repeated and referred on a regular basis in the last 3 to 5 years. And he came up with 52. Yeah, 52 people generating 94% of a $12 million business. Yeah, 52 people, after 18 years in the business, generating 94% of a $12 million business. Turn to your neighbor and tell them if that's good or bad or both. Ready, go. Is that good or bad or good? Just tell them if it's good or bad or good. How many of you think that that's good? How many of you think that that's good? I do. How many think that that's bad? I do, which makes it both. Seriously, I mean, he made no effort to do that. And if you've got 18 years, you know, you may be lucky enough to do that too, but what's the flaw? Where's the problem? What is he not seeing there? Almost, yeah. But only about 10 to 12% of his database is repeating or referring. You understand the wealth of business sitting in his database? Yeah. And he's coming to me looking to figure out how to spend more money to get more strangers. Seriously, you understand it? If he just were to go back and go, look, let's see if I can get more referrals out of the other 550 people. I'm going fast. Does that make sense? Yes. Here's what you need to do. You need to go home and you need to look at your numbers. I wonder how many people are sitting here in your database who would have repeated and referred. They just didn't realize you wanted a referral, and they bumped into somebody else at a soccer game. Seriously, there's a wealth of business, and by the way, take hardly any effort and very little money. From a business point of view, this is just smart. Don't wait till tomorrow. Well, you may still be here tomorrow. I don't know how long this thing goes on. Don't wait too long. Because if your experience is anything like most people, I'll do it tomorrow means it never happens. Don't trust me on these numbers. Look at your numbers. Step number 4. Okay, now we got to do something. Now we need to do some execution. Execution means this. You should write this down. Proactive, purposeful, forward thinking. I said that a number of times. Proactive, purposeful, forward thinking strategies, systems. What are you going to do on purpose, on a regular basis, consistently? If number 1, what you do for a living to make money is what we said, and if number 2, the best target customer is what we said, and if number 3, it is viable to even do that in today's world, then number 4 is what are we going to do? What are we going to do differently in the future than we've done so far in the past? By the way, I'm a teacher. I'm a school teacher. I'm a school teacher. Knowledge is not power. Sorry, it isn't. All education is not knowledge. All education is action. You know how many really well-trained, well-educated people there are who haven't succeeded a bit? Because they didn't take what they knew and implement it. If you don't implement it, it goes away. By the way, a message heard by a human being is forgotten in 16 to 21 days. So if you don't start implementing something you hear here, it's going to go away. You know Peter Drucker? All right, so phase 1 was clarification. Phase 2. I love this quote. Seriously, this is a favorite. How many people do you know who are like that? They're really efficient and really effective at doing stuff that they're not even supposed to be doing. Seriously, how many of you have a personal licensed assistant right this minute? How many of you have a licensed personal assistant? Yeah, at some point in time, you need to get a licensed personal assistant because you're doing assistant work. Because what without doing a whole bit on this, you get paid to be in front of buyers and sellers, helping them buy and sell. Every minute you're putting a new listing into an MLS into your computer. That's what an assistant does. The only talent that takes is the ability to type. Should your abilities and talent not be better spent? So at some point in time, we need to get off being really good at doing stuff we shouldn't even be doing. So, focus. Strategic focus. First part is clarification. Phase 2 is strategic focus. And 2 principles Drucker gave us. Number 1, how do we create brand new clients from existing ones? How do we create our new customers and clients from our existing customers and clients? Does that make sense? Because it costs way less money to do that. From a business point of view, and we're all business for ourselves, it just makes way more sense. So write down these three things, and then I'm going to give you a little strategy. Number one, write down timing. Number two, write down delivery. Number three, write down top of mind consciousness. Top of the mind consciousness. Top of the mind consciousness. Timing, delivery, top of the mind consciousness. Who's the best, most immediate source of referrals? Who's your best, most immediate source of referrals?
Friends. We're closing today.
Well, that's not fair. Your current buyers and sellers. Your current buyers and sellers. From the minute you take that listing, that seller becomes your best, most immediate source of referrals. Why is that? Yeah, you're a real estate agent. Here, you're a real estate agent. So have you not discovered that if you let somebody talk long enough, they'll tell you everything that you need to know? Is that not true? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yeah, they'll tell you even sometimes stuff you don't even really want to know. Is that also not true? Is that just my experience? Okay, so see, and here's the top of the mind consciousness. It's a predictable human behavior. Whatever's important to us right now is what we talk about to everybody. Because it's important to me now. So for the next 60 to 90 days, while my house is for sale, what am I talking about everywhere? My house. I'm in essence a real estate agent. And by the way, when do I stop talking about it? When I go to settlement. Because it's done now. I'm going on to the more important thing. So when's the best time to deliver the message? My trigger for this is when they've demonstrated clearly that they trust me. To speed this up, I'm just going to do sellers. So, sorry, you heard that too, right? Yeah. So sellers. If I've done everything I'm supposed to do correctly, and I say, okay, let's go ahead and list the property, and they sign that document, I believe they trust me. I believe they now trust me. Is that fair? They gave me the biggest thing they're ever going to sell, their listing. Would you say they trust me, yes or no? Yes. So here's how you slide into it. Mr. and Ms. Sauer, let me tell you what happens next. Number one, my assistant's going to come tomorrow, take some pictures, take some video. With your permission, we're going to put that on the internet, or I'm going to come. In a couple days, somebody's going to come. We're going to bury a sign in your front yard. So don't be freaked out when you see somebody digging a hole in their front yard. That's going to happen too. And Mr. Russell, before I go, I need to ask you a favor. You're going to find this in your outline if you find your outline. I need to ask you a favor, but only if you're comfortable with it. Here's what I've constructed some houses now for the last 15 years in Tennessee. I've discovered that my buyers and sellers go into the world and they talk about it everywhere. They go to work and talk about it. They get on the phone, talk to their friends and relatives about it. Sometimes they walk up and down the street, talk to their neighbors about it. And at least once, if not twice, in one of those conversations, somebody says, you know what, I'm thinking about selling my house too. Here's what I need you to do when that happens. You need to stop in the conversation. Tell them a little bit about me and why you chose me to be your real estate agent. And then here comes the big favor, and one more time. Only if you're comfortable with this. I want you to tell them to expect a phone call from me within the next 48 hours. And then with their permission, I need you to call me with their name and number so I can make the call. I just said that's okay. You understand what I just did? Here, let's simplify it. How do you get more referrals than you're getting right now? Ask. And by the way, and teach. Because if they're just passing out your cards, again, I'm going through this quickly, but my experience was somebody would tell me, I gave your card out to somebody, you should get a call sometime soon. I never got the call. Even with the little hearts. Right? Even with the biggest compliment you could ever, because that still lays the burden on that other person who's a stranger to me. So here's how you do it, and this is what I'd like you to do. Here's, by the way, here's how you do it. Would you be comfortable with that? Yes or no?
Yes.
How many of you would be comfortable with that? Or some version of it? Okay. Your business will go up by 30%. Whatever it is today, do that for the next 12 months. I've coached people for 15 years, man. Let me tell you, nobody's business, people don't know that you want referrals. Guys in the back, can you read that from where you are? Probably not. Okay. said, okay, here's what I want you to do. We were gonna do it in here, but you don't have your outline. It is in your outline, okay? It's in your outline. I sent them an outline, they said they're gonna put it on a computer somewhere. Okay, internet, okay. So, yeah. Here's what I would like you to do. Here's what I'd like you to do. If you're gonna do something first, do this. Current buyers and sellers, start doing this. Before you do this, you need to do a number of things. Number one, if it doesn't sound authentic, it won't work. If it doesn't sound authentic, it won't work. I gave you 4 key phrases. They're in yellow up there. They're highlighted in your outline. Don't change those. They're on purpose. Okay? Change anything else you want. So authenticity. Number 2, if it doesn't sound like casual conversation, it won't work. So don't go out tonight and try this on somebody. You'll stumble through it, and they'll think you just learned it in a seminar this morning, and they'd be right. Seriously, I did it for 15 years selling houses, and I've done it for, I don't know, decades now, teaching people how to do this. It should sound like a drop-in. So let me tell you what happens next. This is going to happen, this is going to happen. Oh yeah, and I need to ask you a favor before I go. I need you to blah, 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 blah. Rehearse it. I know. You'd rather try it on a live one and mess up. Or this. Once you've rehearsed it enough, how many of you have a buyer or seller right this minute who you're pretty friendly with, you feel really comfortable with? Then do this. Then when you're ready, say, you know what, I went to a seminar convention, and there's a guy from West Philadelphia, his name was Dale Carlton. But said I had to do this. So forgive me, because he made us promise we would do this. So I'm going to try this out on you and deliver it. Here's what I've discovered against coaching people. They think people are going to be offended by it. You will discover they're not. Even a little bit. And by the way, I didn't promise you the world. I said your business will go up by 30%. I'm telling you, 7 out of 10 people won't do it. You with me? And I know why they won't do it. Some of them don't know if you're really going to keep your promises or not. Okay. Some of them work at a cubicle with a computer, they don't talk to people all day. Okay. And some of your buyers and sellers are anything like my buyers and sellers, they don't even want you to have another buyer or seller. So why would they refer anybody to you? But 3 out of 10 will do this. You're doing 50 deals a year? That's another 15 deals. You're doing 100 deals a year? That's another 30 deals for the sake of a 90-second conversation. Yes? Yeah, you want to do it face-to-face. You want to do it live. It has more impact the more personal it is. Anything does. Okay? Any questions about that? Since we're not going to role play it in a room. Are you okay with this? So modify it, rehearse it, deliver it, get used to it. This lays the foundation. You're in real estate. You put up a really pretty house, but you didn't pour cement first. You just put up 2x4s and drywall and a roof. The first time a really big storm comes through, the bad boy's going down. If they don't know about referrals and don't know how to send them, all the strategies that are assets, supportive assets of it, won't work because they don't know what they're supposed to do to begin with. You with me? Seriously, you okay with that? Yeah. I'm not sure. Are you okay with that? Yes. Okay. Yes.
That's I get to the bottom. You didn't tell them what to do in order to get you in touch with them.
Yes, call me with the name and number so I can make the call. With their permission, call me so I can make the call. That's the lesson. Okay, outcome number 2. Number 1, how do we create new customers from existing customers? Number 2, how do we keep the old ones coming back? And I gave you these numbers a moment ago. The numbers I gave you were 88% of buyers, only 11% actually come back, and 85% of sellers, only 25% come back. Understand this. Your people, they don't stop doing business. They just stop doing business with you. I mean, they're going to sell another house, depending on the age group you're working with. But for the most part, they're going to buy or sell another house. So if you don't get back to them, we didn't do something that was proactive, purposeful, or forward thinking. You need to create a service package. You can't ask people to send you referrals and then not give extraordinary customer service. This is a whole nother session. So I'm going to give you a part of it that's specific to this. I teach customer service at five-star hotels of all places. And boy, you know what, if you think you know stuff and you go to a Four Seasons in Paris and try to teach them customer service, you'll learn more of the stuff than, seriously, I learned more stuff than I probably taught them that day. Here's one of the most fun things I ever heard. This got nothing to do with this class, but it tickles me. So I'm doing a session the next day on customer service at a five-star hotel. And I can be an idiot. Listen, when I say something self-deprecating like that, you're supposed to say, oh no, Ed, you can't possibly. Let's try that again. I can be a real idiot. No, I can't. So I'm looking, from the minute I hit the curve to the minute I get into the room to the minute I come down there, I'm looking for some mistake that they made. You see? So I can bring it up. Nothing better than to do something that's personal right there, right then with them. So I can't find anything. The room's clean. There's a little, pointy thing where the toilet paper's rolled up. There's, all that stuff. Do you think at a five-star hotel where you're paying? Well, I wasn't. Because I was 1,200 euros a night to be unconscious in one of their rooms. Do you think that those rooms should be clean?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So I can't find her. But the bed's skirted. It's got a little skirt. And I'm thinking, they're hiding something. And I picked up a little skirt and I saw a little piece of paper. Should the floor be clean underneath the bed? Yes or no? Yes. I couldn't even reach it, so I grabbed a hanger and I pulled it out and I opened it up and it said, "Yes, we clean here too." I wish I made that up. I didn't. Seriously. By the way, one more time, that's on purpose. They do that. They try to figure out ways to wow you, so you will tell everybody about it. They don't advertise. You don't see Four Seasons hotels and Ritz-Carlton hotels. You don't see the five-star. They don't do postcards and TV. What they do is they get the people in who come to be so wowed by some silly little thing that they did that they go tell 50 people, oh man, you should understand. Do you understand the kind of bang that the Four Seasons George Sank in Paris has gotten from me in the last 10 years telling that story all over the world? How much money would they have to spend to get that kind of a bang? See, they couldn't spend enough money. So this is the supportive asset. This is how we can create word of mouth in the referrals. And we're going to skip, again, when I do this in a longer session, I've broken it down just the way the hotels do. Hit the curb, what do we do to wow them? Get to the front counter, what did we do to wow them? Get to the room, what's there that wows them? They've got it broken down into its parts and they're always thinking, what is the customer expecting and how do we exceed that expectation? We're doing the last one because it has more impact with what we're doing. Okay? Immediately following stage 6. Here's what we're going to do. How many of you go? Do you guys go to settlement? When somebody settles, do you guys go to settlement? Yes, sir. Okay. So here we go. Day number 1. Do you take a gift?
Yes.
Yes. Try to make it as personal as you possibly can. The more personal, the greater impact. We just talked about that. On day number 5, they get what used to be my Toto letter. If you like my letters, check out creativequotations.com. My letters all start with a little quote. Harvard's got a way that you structure a business letter. You should have something you sign off with consistently, like you're a realtor. Mine, I'll say you're a realtor. You should have something at the top that gets their attention. The body of it should be concise. Sometimes it's only a sentence or two. People don't want to read a bunch of fluffy stuff if there's no point to the fluffy stuff. And I'm going to show you the fourth one in a minute. So they got a letter that looked like this. Toto, we're home, and blah, 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 blah. Again, let me thank you for helping find your spouse. Blah, blah, blah. Okay. Okay. Here we go. You know what? Let's do this. I got an hour. If you want the letters I show you, I'm going to show you like 5 letters. I'm going to go too fast. If you want the letters, just say write stuff letters. I've got like a 10-year letter system, but I'm not here to sell that. Any letter I show you, you want it, you got it. Just need to, in the subject line, you need to put write stuff letters. So I know that I showed it to you. And my email address is edhatch@aol.com. Get over it. edhatch@aol.com. That's right, I said it, you know. Ed Hatch, my name, edhatch@aol.com. And if you think that's too ridiculous for you to even type in, then you don't get the letters. Write stuff letters. Write stuff, as in WRITE, write stuff letters. Or, by the way, you go to edhatch.com. If you go to my website, there's a page where you can get in touch with me and ask for stuff. Okay, here we go. On day number 10, my assistant Bonnie, she's going to call them up and say, I hope things are okay, and Edison is going to be going past your house in the next couple of days. I'd like to stop by just for a minute or two. Make sure everything's still okay with that. So on the 14th day, I'm going by. On the 15th day, I'm going to drop a little handwritten note on Bonnie's desk. Now, by the way, see, if you're doing this all by yourself, it's going to slow you down a bit. Sooner or later, I'm going to need it. They're going to get a little handwritten note. Here's the key to marketing. This shouldn't even appear to be marketing. And number one, this is a logical conclusion to a transaction. Good. And the way it works, write down these two things. Spaced repetition and mixed media. Spaced repetition and mixed media. How long does it take for somebody to hear a message and forget it? See, probably within 60 minutes. Within 16 days. Remember I said within 16 days? A message heard. So no matter whether you're doing traditional marketing or what we're doing here, you need to repeat the message. And if you mix the media, as in a phone call, a visit, a note, you've got written and personal. Right? You've mixed the media. That raises the impact of each one of them individually because you mix the media. On the 21st day, Bonnie would call and say, you know, now that you've moved in, if you'd like us to come and do a little postcard of you standing in front of your brand new house, we'd like to take a picture, we were going to do a postcard, and we will send it out as a change of address for you. And we'll take care of that. All we would need is the names and addresses and phone numbers of your 15 to 20 closest friends. You didn't get it. So all we would need from you, and by the way, this is not the best use of our time either. So again, at some point in time, an assistant, Bonnie will go take the picture, we'll make a little postcard out of it. She will send it out. Within a couple of days of it going out, she will call the people and say, hi, my name's Bonnie Boy, I'm Edhatch's personal assistant. We just moved your best friends, Kevin and Mary Baker, into a brand new house. We sent you a change of address. We promised you we'd send you out. Did you get it? And of course, she saw the phone with them. So regardless of what they say, she's going to do a handwritten note after that. You understand what we just did? Just got these people on the phone. Probably Kevin and Mary have talked to these people about doing a good job. And over the course of a year, if you do this often enough, you get another 5 or 6 deals. Not a lot, but another 5 or 6 deals. On purpose, proactively. Then you send out the American Dream Letter, which is a setup for something else, which I hated. And I only did it because Bonnie made me. Have you discovered about yourself? Have you discovered that you're really an introvert pretending that you're an extrovert? There you go. See, me too. So, I mean, the good thing about that is if you're an introvert pretending that you're an extrovert, you can push a button and you can be on. It's exhausting, but you can be on. It doesn't work the other way. Extroverts can't push a button and calm themselves down. Seriously, there's symptomatic of those two things. So when I first heard in 1983 to have a housewarming party, I thought, you must be crazy. Seriously, I learned this from Danny, you must be crazy. Anybody ever heard of housewarming party before? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what, I wouldn't have ever done it, except for Bonnie did it. Bonnie sent out that letter. She called, she said, listen, you've been there for 45 days, probably moved in, comfortable now. We'd like to throw a housewarming party for you. Or sellers moving away, or going away party in their house. And you know, we'd be happy to do that for you. They said, no, understand, the offer of something valuable has impact, whether they take you up on it or not. Mm-hmm. Personal equity. is developing a relationship by offering something valuable, whether or not they even take you up on it, is the fact that you even reached out to them and did that. So if they said no, I went, yay. If they said yes, you know what she needed. She needed the names, addresses of the people they want to say hi. And then she would, here we go, sends out an invitation with an RSVP, the Amazon number RSVP. Then she'd make a phone call. We're throwing housewarming party with Kevin and Mary Baker. Didn't get an RSVP. She talked to them on the phone. What do they get after that? A little handwritten note. And then I just walk in on Monday morning and say, so Bobby, what am I doing this week? And she said, well, Saturday you got a housewarming party at this address, and you gotta go. Dang. And I went. Do you understand the benefit of that? There we go, strategic focus. I could do an open house. I don't know about your neighborhood, so I'm not talking about you. In my neighborhood, the odds are 300 to 1 that somebody's gonna walk into that house and buy it. Or that I'm even gonna pick up a buyer, because buyer agency. So they're gonna flash a card at me. No, I'm just sitting there on a Sunday afternoon, killing time. Or on a Saturday afternoon, I can spend a couple hours with two people who love me in their house introducing me to their best friends. Mm-hmm. Oh man. Sorry, I'm more excited about that than you were, apparently. I'm going over her. What do you do? Almost nothing. I mean, it's a couple hours. The question was, what do you do? It's like a little, come and you have some munchies. You need to be careful about this. You need to ask your managers about this. We never paid for anything. We would just call up. Are there people who make money every time you make money? Yes. Are there people who make money every time you make money? Yes or no?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And if you sell enough houses, all you do is Bonnie calls up George Heaton, who does a lot of our loans, and says, George, we're having a party at 2 o'clock at 1, 2, 3 for Whitehall Drive. We need food. Now you need to be careful about RESPA. You need to be careful about RESPA. You need to be careful about RESPA. RESPA is being interpreted differently in every state. So you need to be careful about how your state, addresses the RESPA rules. But it's just a matter of, for a couple hours, people are coming to the house and you're not really paying for the food. Don't do alcohol, right? You're in America. You give them alcohol, they get in an accident on the way home, you're in trouble. Okay. Did that answer your question? Okay. And on the 16th day, the ongoing program starts. What is the program? The program is this. From now on, they're going to get 12 written contacts. One letter a month. Try to alternate it between personal and professional. 1 letter a month between personal and professional with the format that I gave you. They're going to get 3 phone calls in a year. You're one of my guys, you get a letter a month. You get 3 phone calls during the course of a year. Maybe more, but 3's enough. Right? I'm going to visit you twice, assuming you're not selling second homes and that becomes too difficult. St. Patrick's Day, some of my people what they did is they had lottery tickets and go went and visited all the A customers and gave them a lottery ticket. Look at the other. And one client appreciation event. See what's going on here? It's mixed media, it's spaced repetition, staying in the flow. Now when they go to a banquet and meet some other real estate agents sitting at the table, and it's not us, doesn't matter, because we're still engaged with them. They go to the daughter's soccer game, walk up and down the sidelines and bump into another real estate agent, doesn't matter, because we're keeping in touch with them. It's proactive, it's purposeful. Letters would look something like, we talked about this already. Everybody should pay his income tax with a smile. I tried, but they wanted cash. If you want these letters, I'm going to go through them quickly. If you want these letters, email me. When I was a kid, I used to imagine monsters running under my bed. I told my dad and he solved the problem quickly. He cut the legs off the bed. See, I don't do Thanksgiving, Christmas, Valentine's. Everybody's doing that. I try to find something else to do that was a little bit different than everybody else. If there were no schools to take children away from home, part of the time the insane asylum would be filled with mothers. That was one of my favorites, good school teacher. This is one also a favorite. I saw a skylight in my apartment that people who lived upstairs were furious. What was in there, man? I could have helped you with that. And at the end of the year, they got a little home is not just a transient thing, blah, blah, blah. And on the bottom of every one of those letters, okay, number one, you're a realtor. Number two, a quotation. Number three, the body of the letter is concise, got a point. And at the bottom of the letter, you handwrite, thank you for your continued trust and referrals. Handwrite it. Draw the I back to the bottom. Don't circle the word referrals. That's for you. That's for the class. I know people do this, people love it, I get all referrals, but they don't like the underlining and circling. Let me ask you something, okay? If you went back to your database and found, 50 people, and just started sending these letters to them once a month, that were valuable, relevant, personal, professional, would you get more referrals in the next 12 months than you did in the last 12 months? Yes or no? Yeah. Proactive, purposeful, focused. If the strategic focus. I'm not talking about not doing open houses. I'm talking about giving the choice based on my business model and the outcome I want. I'm better doing a housewarming party than I am, or both. I'm going to let people do that. Now we come to phase 3. The problem is this is going to work. The problem isn't that it isn't going to work. The problem is it is going to work. This is where I was. 1983, selling 100 houses a year, ready to quit. Just like half the people who I've coached in the last 15 years, selling a lot of houses, ready to quit. Because if you succeed to a certain point, you get not to have a life. And that's just not me. We don't know each other, but if I can't have a life, the phrase making a living has the word living in it. If I don't get to do that, I don't take any pride in working 7 days a week, 24/7, not having a vacation in the last 3 years. I know people who do. That's just not me, which is why this lent itself to the outcome I was looking for. So number 1 was clarify. Number 2 was strategic focus. Number 3 is control. In psychology, got a background in psychology, they call this distributed cognition. The brain is a great place to create ideas. It's a terrible place to store them. The brain has no checklist. The brain doesn't know what's important and what isn't important. The brain will wake you up at 3 o'clock in the morning and tell you the name of an actor from a movie you couldn't think of 2 days ago. And you can't do anything about it now. You're driving down the road, you should make a phone call, but your brain will say, buy cat food. It doesn't know what's important and what isn't. It's great ideas, just not going to work. So if you're going to start to do this kind of business, you need to create maps. For example, if we were doing a letter system, if we were doing a coaching thing, over the course of a year, we'd create a map. So every year, you don't have to recreate the map. The map's done. Content, yes, but not map, not format. The immediately following program is a map. Day 1 do this, day 5 do this. See what's happening? You have to take the ideas and put it in a place, you need to store it in a place where it'll come up at the right time in the right order. Systematic, continuous repetitions. So you're not wondering, did I do that? Or should I have done that? I don't remember if I did that. You may want this. You're not going to do that. Wait, you guys. Listing in progress, in case you email me. Listing in progress, so we create a checklist like this. You're not going to do that. So this is week by week, over the course of 8 weeks. Bonnie knows exactly what to do and when to do it. And by the way, most of this is Bonnie work. And I know exactly what I'm supposed to do and when I'm supposed to do it. And once it's sold, we've got, how do you get it to sell? There's a map. When you've got 35 listings, you can't wonder, did I keep my promise? I told them I was going to do this. Did I do this? So the next map is this. Then you take every one of the stages of the 6-stage service package. We used to do, I know this is old-fashioned, but we used to do flip chart paper. I could walk into a little room, and if I had 20 transactions going on at any given time, they'd be all over the wall. It would take me 5 minutes. I could look at Kevin and Mary Baker, I could look at somebody else, I could look at somebody else. Every time Bonnie did what she was supposed to, she'd go in and check it off. Every time Annie went in and did something, she would check it off. Every time I was supposed to do something, I'd go in and check it off. There was no mistaking. Extraordinary customer service, you need consistency. Consistency is critical. You can't be good some of the time and not good the rest of the time. You can't get so good that you can no longer provide the service that got you the reputation to begin with. You need to hear that again. Yeah. We all get to a point where we get so busy, it gets so good, but we did really, really work, and we can no longer provide the service that got us the reputation to begin with, because we're doing too many transactions. So, maps. And by the way, an assistant, at some point in time, you can do anything, Matt, but you can't do everything. All right. This is what's going to happen. I gave you, when we first started, I said pick a number. Here's how you pick a number. Just to say, you know critical mass? You know what critical mass is? Does that picture not describe critical mass? See, once you got things going, one more little stuff, and boom, things explode. Here's how you build a business, using all the steps we've talked about. So one of the ladies who I coach from New Jersey, we finished up 2017, having done the year, and what we determined is this: how much money do you need to go home and be happy? So once you, how many? How much money do you need to go home and be happy? Because that's the point. How does that translate into transactions? How much do you net every time you sell a house or a listing sales? How many transactions then does that take? Right? Now, having A customers who send you 1 or 2 referrals every year, how many people do we need? Did you get that? What's the outcome? Money. How do we break that down into something doable? Units. Settled units. How do we break that down into something doable? Number of A customers. By the way, how do we break that down into, well, everything we've done up till now. So she needed 32. So in the year 2018, assuming there's 32 sent 1 or 2 referrals, in the year 2018, she'd get 38 referrals. Based on all the things we just talked about. You think? Assuming a service package that really did wow people, minimally, at least 11 of those 38 people should be wowed enough to become an A customer. Does that make sense? You think? So now we take the 11 new A customers, add it to the 32 from the end of last year, and we've got 43 A customers. An A customer is somebody going to send you 1 or 2 referrals every year because we were so proactive, so purposeful, so forward-thinking, so consistent, so focused. So 1 or 2 referrals in the year 2019 should be 51. Assuming the service package is still down 30%, then 56. And I'm not doing the whole thing. But watch how it grows. At some point in time, critical mass. I would guess that there's some number that you wrote down that's on that list. How many transactions would you want? Well, starting today, by the end of this year, how many A would you need? And then we just need to make sure all your systems are in place, and we implement them systematically, continuously, and repetitiously. It's not rocket science, right? It's just a matter of formatting. Our next session, before I end this one, I know this doesn't feel like it, but this is the first step in a negotiation. We said, what do we do for a living? What we need to do is put ourselves in front of a bunch of people who are going to influence, who are going to work with us, persuade, negotiate with them, get them to price their house correctly, pay our fee intact, all that kind of stuff. Seriously, one of the basic rules of negotiating is you never negotiate from a position of weakness. You never negotiate from a position of weakness. You never do that. Simply put, I want another listing. I don't need one. Does that make sense? So for me, 35 listings, I would like your listing. But if you want me to overprice it, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to convince you why pricing it properly is correct. But if you still want to overprice it, there's a whole bunch of other agents who use that. My fee is what it is. And I believe I'm worth it. And I can try to convince you of all the things I do. I mean, if I'm going to charge that, I should believe I'm worth it and should be able to prove it. But if you still want me to cut my fee, because there's another agent out there who clearly will, there always has been or always will be. Well, if that's what you want, overprice your house, cut your fee, then you should go somewhere else. Yeah. I know this is counterintuitive, But in a negotiation, the more you need somebody to do something for you, the less likely they are to do it. Does that not make sense? Seriously, you've got experience doing this. Do you think sellers can see desperation on their face? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Well, see, are there any new guys in the room? We'll get them, let's talk about that. Seriously, when I was new and I had been a school teacher and was like making no money and blah, 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 I needed a listing, and here's what I believe, they could tell that. And right away, that put them in a position of power. I didn't need to say I needed it, they could just tell. And by the way, I don't have to be a prima donna, and I don't have to be arrogant, I don't need to be whatever. For them to see on my face, I'm convinced. I believe this. And I'm going to try to convince you. I'm going to do everything I possibly can to convince you. But if you really don't want to do it, that's okay. There's somebody else out there who is more than... And that's really hard to do when you've got no listings and you've got no buyers. How do you make sure that never happens again? This. On purpose. Proactively. Anybody, is there anything that you're going to actually do when you walk out of here?
Yeah.
Okay. Then...
Wraps are all up. Well, I hope you folks enjoy yourselves. Catch you later on down the trail.
Next one starts at 10:30.